Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 65 episode of Kouryer Podcast. I'm sure I kind of misspelled the six. I think it's 65th, but whatever. Let's just move past that. Today, our guest that's joined us is Héctor Sevilla Luján from Chihuahua, Mexico. He's a visual development and comic artist, and also a character designer. Now, with that out of the way, could you please give us a little introduction on how you got into visual arts and design?
Hi. Sure. I started. I was lucky because when I was young, like let's say around I probably had like 23 years old. And DeviantArt started like something really, really small, like a new portfolio, because in those days you couldn't find portfolios online like they do today. Like let's say ArtStation, DeviantArt, PixipArt, and I had this idea. I wanted to do like a comic book with my childhood heroes, like Alice in Wonderland or Treasure Island, Pinocchio. And at that time, Kingdom Hearts was like a big thing. And I wanted to do something similar, like in manga style, but with crossovers from characters from book that I found really interesting. And I was working, let's say, like a year in the project. And Mike Miller was an editor. He wanted to build his own comic company, and he was looking at my art, and he waited until I had the right amount of, let's say, level of skills, and he became a partner for the project. It was called Lullaby Wisdom Seeker, and it was printed first on Image Comics. That was like a big step, like for me to become a professional, like paid work and stuff. And I was really lucky to start with my own project. I mean, not everyone has the opportunity to start that way, right? They start like background artist or colorist or working on someone else's dream, but to start with my own vision, that was probably, I was too young for a kind of project like that, but I was really happy.
Awesome. And by the way, if you don't mind me asking, what year was it when you saw that, DeviantArt portfolio thing that you mentioned?
What you mean, the project?
Yeah, the DeviantArt, when you said you were 22-year-old and DeviantArt put out this like kind of portfolio feature, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And what year was it exactly, if you remember?
What was, excuse me?
What year was it when you saw that feature on DeviantArt?
I don't know, like 2002?
Oh,
maybe. I don't know if 2003 or 4. I think around 2. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. It's been 21 years since the birth of DeviantArt. Interesting.
Yeah. Let me see how much time I have on my account. You can see the years you are.
Interesting.
I'm around DeviantArt, like I was like kind of the beginners of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange with the new format, like they hide it. Let me see. Account settings. No, I can see the date, but it's like 50 years ago, maybe around 50
probably.
years, maybe 16 right now.
All right, now, were you originally studying art and design, or you were pursuing another career path?
I wanted to be like an engineer when I was a kid, and I really drew like these silly drawings, like the like 5 minute sketches of the teachers and people from the classroom. And I remember one day when I was hearing like Iron Maiden and metal bands, I was like doing these really complex drawings from Eddie Maiden using just ballpoint pen. And I started noticing like that people started to like my more complex drawings than the simple ones. And that really started to I really started to like it. And let's say I started to learn drawing at the age of 18. I mean, I took classes, they're like draw flowers and stuff when you are in the middle school, like you are like 8 years old. And I took like 1 year. I mean, I've always been drawing, but never took it seriously until I was like 18. And then I decided to study graphic design instead of engineer. And this is really interesting because when I was really good at drawing at the school, I was really popular of my skills. But when I graduated, I was like 23 years old, and look at the internet, and there was like these kids of 16 years old from Korea that drew really amazing stuff. And my art was crap, right, compared to the kids. And that's why I decided to took like a whole year to not get a job or anything. How do you say beca in English when you win like an art contest and they give you money to work on a project?
You mean freelancing?
No. Like when you win you pitch a project to the government and the government give you money
Commission?
monthly.
Oh, I think you mean commission. You got commissioned by a government sector?
Yeah. I pitched like a comic book. It was called Eternal Despertar, that in English is Eternal Awakening. And I used the money to perfect my skills and stuff, and raise the level. That was at the time when I created Lullaby. After it took me like 2 years to polish my stuff, and in those days I was like, do you know Mike Turner? One of the artists that drew a Phantom or Witchblade. Have you heard about him?
No, I don't think so.
And I was like a clone for his style. And one day a friend told me like, "Hey, have you ever seen manga?" And he showed. I hated, to be honest, I hated manga. I saw One Piece and I considered the drawings really ugly when I was young. And god damn it, a friend showed me the anime. He gave me the episodes, and I was hooked with One Piece. One Piece right now is my number one series, and I grew to love the art style. I mean, man, that creator is incredible.
Yeah, and it's still going on.
Yeah, and it's ironic because we have like a phrase here in Mexico, like never say never, because it's ironic that the art style I hated the most is the one I love the most. And at that time, also my friends showed me Furikuri from Gainax. Do you know Furikuri? Like FLCL?
No, sorry, I'm not really well versed when it comes to like comic artists that much.
Yeah, it's like an animation from 2000, and that made me consider manga. And when I changed my style to manga, I realized that it was easy for me to draw manga that draw a forced American style, and yeah, that's when I changed the style. And it's funny because when I was in art school, there was another guy who also draw, and he drew these gorgeous, realistic proportions, and I feel like he was always comparing with me and mocking my stuff because my stuff I wanted to draw realistic, but it was horrible stuff. And when I changed to manga, he couldn't compare with me anymore because they are two different styles. It's like one going to the right side and another to the left. And he stopped comparing with me because I took another road. So I think it was really funny for me. I was laughing inside. It's like
Interesting.
it's like watching a guy lost his greatest adversary, like his nemesis. It's like, it's like if Goku loses Vegeta. It was really funny. But yeah, it's incredible how often an artist is focused in using a style that doesn't suit his real skills, right? Like a lot of people ask me how do they find their style, but for me it's like the style will find you. I mean, yes, you can tweak the eyes, the arms, and the legs, but for me, style is like a paper cage. Like, yeah, you can change the curtains, the bed sheets, the chairs, but you're still in that room that is your style. You're not going to live, but you can make it better. But you will always be in that same room because a lot of people try to create a really unique style, but they don't realize they are their own style.
Yes, exactly. And you should just experiment with different stuff. Just keep drawing, and eventually you'll find the stuff you like to draw. And when you keep doing that more, you tend to develop some sort of habits in your drawings or paintings, and that will overcome turn into your quirks and style. And I think that's about it. And let's move on to the next question. And what is your main branch of design that you're focusing on? And tell us about your experience from the start of it until now.
Well, you mean like a branch? You mean
Like what?
clients?
No. Like what field of art and drawing you're focusing on? Like, of course, in the introduction, I mentioned that you focus on comics and character design, but yeah,
Okay.
explain that a bit more.
Okay, for me, right now I'm focusing more like in illustration. Uh, I was like 28 years old and I was like working in my comic, right? And I remember one day, like, I finished all the comics pages and give it to my editor, and my editor says, okay. And I was, okay, send me the payment. And he said that he didn't have money. And that was like a wake up call, right? And digital was really popular that day. But I was like really old. I was 28 years old at that time. Probably it was like 2007 or 2008, and decided to invest money in a Cintiq. It was the Cintiq 21 UX, the first one. Like, it was not widescreen; it was like square. Man, and it was expensive. It was like over $2,000. And I was working with another client. Leviticus Cross was the comic, and he was really nice for me. He offered me to pay me with the Cintiq, and also found a way to ship it to me in Mexico, because at that time they didn't exist Amazon like this day that you can buy stuff from anywhere in the world with no problems. And I remember I took the Cintiq, and man, my stuff was really crappy. Like, and I mean crappy, like kids drawing with crayons. That, in fact, that was a critic. Someone said to me like my drawings was worse than drawings in kindergarten. That I should return to pencils. And I remember in that day I lost thousands of followers because I decided to try something new. And let's say I spent working like 4 years practicing in digital, and finally my stuff started to get like some kind of decent level that people started to return with me. So for me, digital is something really, really new for me. I wish I could have started like when I was 15 or 12, like kids these days. I mean, you can afford like Hue tablets really, really cheap with the screen, what you can draw directly, or even the iPads. And right now I'm focusing in trying to polish. I mean, to polish my style. I mean, it's really hard for me because I didn't took classes. I was always buying books, reading, and teaching myself. And it's funny because right now that my age, over 40 years old, I think I'm going to be 43 on November. I started to learn stuff that they were teaching the fees on the first year in an art school. Like I'm I'm still learning the basics, so it's really fun. I really love digital. I really love colors,
Yeah, I mean
and
that's
that
the. Oh, sorry,
yeah.
sorry. Did I go on? Sorry, I interrupted.
No, no, and I was going to say that yeah, that's the only thing I focus in right now. In any medium, I can put my work digital, like a cover for a book, maybe a couple of comic pages. Like in my case, like I talked to you earlier, like working with board games like cards and dices and stuff. So it's really fun to work in digital.
And actually, I was gonna say that the story you mentioned about your journey in art is a prime
Hmm.
example of how important foundations are. In every
Hmm.
episode,
Hmm.
basically, we always talk about like how important the fundamentals are, like when it comes to drawing. And yeah, if you don't learn them properly early on, it's gonna drag you along on your art journey. So it's always better to, and as boring as it is, you should always try to practice and understand them first, then move on to develop yourself and do the fun stuff that you want. And yeah, and actually, speaking of the process, how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a project?
Okay, for example, in the card games or with contract clients, I pitch like four thumbnails with different ideas, and the client sometimes like it. For example, let's say I like the B, but I like the position of the C character with a couple of the background from the A, and then with the thumbnail, I do like a color composition based on the thumbnail, and then the client if told me if he's like it, if he's liking it. I mean, sorry about my English; it's not my main language.
No worries, no
Uh,
worries.
and and yeah, and then I start adding details and details and details. The most fun part is when you have already the composition, you have the values, and the details is something you can do without even looking. Like, let's say you have like a branch of a tree, and you're just hitting the glass with randomly brushes. You're having fun there because you're not worried if the values are okay. You already solved that in backstages. So is when the drawings start to get polished and looks better and better. Like you mentioned, the doing the basics first, then the fun later in the same image.
Sounds like an interesting methodology to go on about doing the projects. And actually, the next question, I want to know a little bit about the current works that you're doing right now. You mentioned that you're working with some card games. That like card game developers are some of your recent clients. Could you tell us about some of the works that you've been doing?
Yeah, right now I'm working on a card game called Singularity. It's really fun. I really love clients like Matt. Matt is my client. And man, it's a lot of fun working with him because he pitched me like idea. Like he said, like, let me invent a character. Like, I want to draw a banana, but this banana, make it look like a cowboy and put a gun. And okay, I like, of course, in the game, it's not going to come with a banana, right? But I grabbed the character and I was like, how about if instead of a gun, he has like a tank? And I started pitching these ideas. Maybe the banana, it looks square and not like a Minecraft character. and yeah, something to not make like an ordinary banana with a gun, right? That's boring.
Yeah.
But if you somehow like fuse, like put mechanical parts inside the banana and stuff like that. And what I really love working with Matt is that he give me all this freedom. Like he tell me, this is the concept, go nuts. And it really makes me happy when I give them something they weren't expecting and they love it and they tell me, continue. Compared with other clients that they say, I want this character, I want his with these shoes, with these pants, I want it in this position, I want it in this background, I want it. So they don't leave me enough room to be creative. And yeah, I mean, it's fun, but not as fun as the other one because you feel like part of the project. You work parts of your brain that makes you feel creative, like you're creating something new. And when people get so specific in a drawing, I feel like I'm tracing over a drawing. Like I just put in a sheet of paper and I'm just copying. And
Yeah.
sometimes it shows that you look at a drawing and you said, the artist wasn't having fun drawing that one. And then you saw like the banana dropping from a plane with a big guns and stuff like that, and you are like, wow, the artist was having fun. That's also
exactly.
Yeah, that's also with my client from Midara. That's a board game. I share you the link. And it's funny because these two clients are from Salt Lake City. And it's a blessing.
Salt Lake City from United States?
United States. Yeah.
All right.
It's funny because they are from the same city and they didn't know each other. And that guy is really awesome because he always let me to go crazy and with a lot of gore. I mean, the other one is for kids, but the other one let me use gore, like really, really creepy stuff. I really like drawing creepy stuff. A lot of people ask me that question, like, why do I always draw creepy stuff and beautiful woman? And I reply to them, because that's the two things that made me scared, like pretty woman and I really like mixing both, like they are my nightmare. Yeah, like if a pretty woman comes to me and start talking to me, I like start sweating and trying to go away and stuff. So it's really funny.
Yeah, that was actually, I didn't expect that answer because I'm afraid of both. Because like the most obvious answer is, of course, maybe you like drawing this subject. I mean, it's like it's a form of art's expression, and there's it's just another subject like anything else. But I never expected that you say, oh, it's because I'm actually afraid of it.
They are like my phobias.
Oh, awesome. Like it's kind of a form of expression as well that you're drawing out your phobias and fears like that.
Yeah,
In that
and I really
sense.
like the challenge. I remember a friend told me a long time ago, like, man, you don't know how to draw boobs, because my boobs were like basic circles, right? Like that, the kind of boob that not even a sex toy, that the dolls, that the balloons dolls, that one
Yeah,
looks more
I
realistic
think.
than the ones that I drew. So I always took like a challenge and started practicing and practicing to draw sexy woman. But then all my clients wanted me to draw sexy woman. They don't want me to draw men most of the time. So I guess really happy. Right now I'm drawing like how do you say, a head cook? Is that pronounced right?
A
The
hit?
tiny head cook. No,
Hit.
what? How did you pronounce the character Sonic?
Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That animal creature. They asked me to draw one with boots and a sword and a quad. It's really fun when they don't ask me to draw a pretty girl. It's really fun. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, you're going to get clients and commissions from the same niche that you're working on. I mean, it's kind of pretty obvious in every art form. Like, I remember there was this 17-year-old girl, and she was pretty talented, and her only thing that she used to draw was just dragons. And she was really good
nice.
at it. And she had like, I think she has now, I think 40, 50,000, because she's just going hard on it, just at certain subjects, just one subject, and she's getting clients and all of that because they want dragon drawings, I guess. And that's a one way to get a lot of success, just to just laser focus on a subject after you've developed your style.
Yeah, she's really smart. I have a friend that also draw creatures like that on Instagram, and yeah, it's. But I always like it, the challenge, right? I mean, I was like
Yeah.
in this local comic book where I live, and there was this guy that came to my table, and he also drew. And he saw my double, the comic book pages, like they are like 10 by 15 inches long. And he mocked my stuff, saying, you draw all those details because the pages are so big. And he mocked at me at my own table. And I was like, okay. So the next year, I was invited to the same convention. And the same guy arrived to my table and looked at my stuff. But all my stuff were letter size, at the A4 paper,
Yeah.
the regular,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the same amount of details. And he was looking at the art, closed the book, and left. Oh, I was like, yes,
Yeah.
revenge. I was using, and that's when mechanical pencils becomes my favorite pencils, the
Yeah. Yeah.
point
Yeah.
0.5, 0.3.
Yeah. 0.7 ones as well.
And that's why I really love tiny details, adding too much details. And it's because of that challenge. I wanted to close, but to close people's mouth, you have to put a lot of work and dedication to it. It's not like, I mean, art should defend itself, right? Like, for example, if someone tells you you can't draw hands, you don't correct him. Yes, I can draw hands. No, you working your hands, and next time they see it, like I mentioned to a friend, I mean, it's good to separate work from real life. When people can criticize my stuff and tell me my mistakes, I learn a lot when people tell me what I drew wrong, and do my best to fix it. But if I crossed my arms and start defending my stuff, like I drew hands because that's my style, I will never grow, right? I will never move to the.
Yeah.
So that's why I say to a friend that your art is like creating your childs. You give them weapons and you kick them out to the world so they can defend themselves. If they die, make a new one, give it a better gun, and throw it to the war again. But they don't need to be like, with the new tendency that people let me fix that artist style, or let me fix. If they fix my art, it's okay. Maybe I could learn a couple of things, but I don't see in any way trying to reapply them or challenge them. For me, I remember this. I was in DeviantArt, and I was already working as a professional. And one guy said to me that I didn't knew anything about composition, and I was like, composition was that, and started to read books and learn composition. They didn't teach me that in my career, and I'm talking that I've studied graphic design and didn't saw anything about composition, like color harmony, patterns, uh, sizes, shapes, soft versus hard, etc. So I learned a lot from that critic.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you should always be open to criticism, even if sometimes they sound like assholes and try to insult you. But if you try to look past that, you might see, hey, maybe there's actually something wrong with my work, and actually benefit from that guy was trying to be rude or something,
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I had a question. Who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Okay, I think the excess amounts of details was Mike Turner. He died from cancer a long time ago. And it was really interesting because Mike Turner, I was in that old days, everybody drink in the artist, right? So at the Comic Con San Diego, the most famous convention in the United States, there was this bar like like a mile from the convention, and people gathered there, really professionals. And I started talking to an editor from Aspen Comics, and she said that the Mike Turner was going to die, right, because of cancer, and the doctor recommended him to stay at home. But he was there at the convention with a special chair, like ergonomic chair.
Yeah,
And
those ergonomic chairs. Yeah.
yeah, and the guy was like dying inside, but you see him with a big bright smile on his face, signing for the fans, and I was like, whoa, he was a really true inspiration. So, and he also had like this obsession with tiny details, and that's probably because that's something I learned from him, the tiny details. Then also I like it the work from Hugh Tae Kim. He's a Korean designer. I really love his stuff. So probably my style is more like a manga, that is like Korean manga style. So I think my style is more detailed than manga. But recently manga is getting too influenced by Korean manga with digital tiny details everywhere. And I also love the work from Katsuya Terada. Man, the way he drew the lines. I was lucky to meet him, so I have a sketch hanging on my wall and looking right now. Do you know Katsuya Terada?
I don't think so.
He's a Japanese illustrator. He's really good, and also
Um,
his style is super detailed.
Interesting. No, I don't really know much comic and manga artists that much, except like really famous ones like Ichiro Oda, which of course One Piece. Um, Damn, I forgot who was a manga artist for Attack on Titan. But basically, I don't know that much when it comes to comics.
Yeah, let me show you like works from him. I'm going to post it on the chat.
Yeah, I'll also try to post this in the video version of the podcast, so the people who are listening can also check it out.
Okay. He has like an
And
Instagram account.
wait. Oh, I think I'm seeing his stuff. Yeah, they look pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And he draws like Kim Jong-gi, right? Like he starts with a line and boom, 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 and then with a drawing like that.
Yeah,
I,
exactly.
yeah, man, I always love his work. And recently I'm liking a lot Ashley Wood. Do you know Ashley Wood?
No, sorry.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry.
Ashley Wood. Man, this guy is a painter right now. He was like he made famous comic books like Cover for Spawn or Hellboy. Man, I
Mm.
saw his work when I was at the convention, and he painted like skateboards. Really, really brilliant paintings, but the prices were like $3,000, and I was like, man, I
Uh,
don't have enough money to buy. Uh, Let me grab a little sketchbook and bought his sketchbooks, but there's something about his style, his paintings. Is like they breathe. They look so simple but so complex. Ashley Wood is really, really good. So yeah, those are the art, and of course Kim Jong-gi. I love his sketches. But Ashley Wood. But my favorite right now from all time is always Katsuya Terada. That's probably the reason I use Corel Painter, because in that time, Clip Studio wasn't that famous to do like paintings, and I saw the work from Katsuya Terada and Painter. Since Painter was like Painter 6 or Painter 9, right now that they are on Painter 22 or 21, and yeah, time passes so fast.
yeah, and what technologies and softwares do you mostly use for your works?
I really love Corel Painter, and I really like the new Huion tablets. Have you heard of them? The Huion?
Yeah, of course, they're actually getting some popularity even back in my home country, Iran. Like, because of course it's like a cheaper option to Wacom, and I think like naturally it's going to be like an option for upcoming artists to consider.
Yeah, I had like a Cintiq 16 Pro. The tablet was good, but when I pressed it, I added a lot of pressure to the pen. The glass started like touching the screen below, so that created like that green pixels. I think that tablet is out of the market because of that. And then about the Wacom 16, the Nat Pro version, it was good, but the screen was like too milky, like with a little tint of white. And then I saw the new Huion tablet that was called 22 Plus. That it doesn't have buttons on the sides, but man, the screen is gorgeous, and the new pen has like a version 3 technology compared to the past one that is generation 2, and it's so similar to the Wacom that's the tablet I'm using right now, and I really love it because I mean it's just HD, the tablet, right? It's not 4K or 2K, but I really love it working in that size. 22 inches for me is the best size. And if you compare past Huions, I had like the Huion Pro 20, but the viewing angle was terrible. Like if you tilt your head to a side, the color shifted. Like they get super dark or super light. So I wasn't sure what was the real color, but with the Canvas Plus 22, from every angle I see, the color looks gorgeous. And I really like that it has like an etched glass. Etched glass, you don't need to get like a protective films. Like Etched glass is really good against scratches and avoids glare. I'm doing like a commercial right now, but it's really good and it is less like $500. It's not that expensive anymore to get a decent tablet.
Yeah, I mean, even here on the side, I think there are a lot of new options right now in the market that, I mean, even new options aside, you can just easily get like a second-hand Wacom or Hue on tablets. Like, I mean, it's so much more accessible than before. And any advice and tips for a good portfolio and resume for artists?
I mean, get few images, get your best ones because a lot of friends suggest like 15 image or even 10. But for example, if you're going to be like a character designer, it's good to have like a front, like a sheet of paper of model characters, like front, back, sides, views, and fully detailed. So people know that you can do the same image twice. Or if you're going to be like a comic artist, show sequence of pages, not like or if you're going to be like let's say Magic the Gathering, show the most gorgeous paintings you have and different, right? Like different positions, different angles. I think 10 is enough because when you're in a convention, uh, the editors they don't have really enough time to see all the images because the lines are really long. A lot of artists want to show the art, and something that is true is that the editor will always look at your worst drawing and drew a scale from there. Imagine like because your worst drawing is like the current level you have, right? So always try to give quality instead of quantity. And these days with tablets and stuff, if maybe the editor want you make a connection with him and he wants to see more, you can have more drawings, right? With an iPad, so you can give it the iPad to him. And also another recommendation I do, if you go to portfolio reviews at a comic convention, always carry your portfolio with you because so this is something happened to me, right? I was in a bar at almost 1 a.m. with some friends drinking, and an editor from DC Comics passed on a side, and my friend said, "Hey, you should look at this character, this guy work. He's really good." And because I had like my portfolio, he saw it and he told me come to the next day with me. But imagine if I was like, hey, can you wait half an hour or an hour? Let me run to the hotel, grab my portfolio and come back because luck doesn't knock twice on the same door. So always be prepared. Always carry your portfolio with you. That's that's my number one rule I can give as an advice for portfolio. And always listen and agree. Not I have seen people that try to defend their work and stuff. No. Always hear, and move on. Sometimes the editor is looking for like like a special kind of style that maybe you don't fit. So some people might say it's not good, and some people will say, "Wow." So always listen to what they have to say to you. You can always learn a lot.
And what area beside the area you're working on right now would you be interested to explore and learn in the future? Like it could be even non-art related.
Right now, I'm focusing in trying to find a way, like because recently I have a lot of back pain. So probably going to see to a medic when I get like a vaccine for the COVID to just to make like an extra defense. But for me right now, I would really like to find like the perfect combination of simple plus super detailed stuff. I mean, I need to find a way to create like a really nice gesture. You know, when you see like the example I was showing you, like Ashley Wood, like man, you see his stuff is simple, but at the same time is complex. It's like a goal for me. I want to stop carrying too many cases and walk like more freely in art, and maybe do like a comic book because comic book pages take a lot of time. For me to make a the comic page right now is like 2 or 3 days. I need to find a way to create a good comic book page and have time for my own. So that's probably my goal right now.
Awesome. And well, with everything that's been said and done in this episode, to conclude all we discussed, could you please give us a roadmap for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to get to the place you are in terms of skill sets, like where to start, best tools, softwares, books, anything, like for someone who is zero and wants to get to the place you are when it comes to character design and visual arts and everything? What would those steps look like?
Okay. I can only keep my subjective view, right? Because other people will say, no, don't skip the basics and stuff. But this is my kind of philosophy. Like, let's be honest, I still have a lot of anatomy mistakes because for me, anatomy is something that my brain doesn't click that easy. For me to perfect anatomy, you need to take years and years of practicing hands and hands. Sometimes you don't even have the lifetime, right, to perfect anatomy, like the skills like Rembrandt and stuff. Of course I'm talking about anatomy using not using models, right? Like trying to memorize. It's impossible. When I draw, I don't use models. I drew the pose and then try to fix it. I know this process is wrong, but that's my kind. I don't like copying, like I mentioned before. Maybe with live models will be more fun than copying from a photo. So, but I'm moving to another team. What I'm talking about, what my point I want to give is that learning anatomy take years and years and years. But if you want to learn, there are a couple of things that you can use to make your work better, right? Like learn the basics, learn composition. They are great books. Search in Amazon for pictorial composition books. Look at the stars. There are these great books. I have like 3 books of them. They are really nice. They are in the top list in Amazon, so you will find it easier. They are books like you can learn anything from composition in reading one book, but practicing will probably get you like 1 or 2 or 3 years to get solid composition. But that is faster than learning anatomy. Also, learn how to color. Like I really recommend the book from James Gurney, Color and Light. That book I had to read like 2 or 3 pages per day because it was a lot of information, and that book is so beautiful and great. So if you learn composition and color first than anatomy, that is great because you can have the more realistic rock. Like let's say you go to and draw a rock from a photo or something, or you copy an anatomy piece and the technique is perfect, is mastered, but the composition is boring, right? And you look at the painting, wow, what a realistic rock, and move on. Or you look an incredible hand or a model, but the composition is all wrong, and you only stare for it like 2 seconds. But if you draw like like a decent rock or a decent anatomy, yeah, the bones might be broke. Maybe you drew two left hands, but the composition is solid. People will be staring at the image more time, and that's a good thing, right? To make people keep staring and staring at the image. I I was lucky enough to travel to France one time, and I always mock the Mona Lisa painting. But when I was watching the Mona Lisa in front of me, I just couldn't look away. I mean, I spent like 30 minutes standing there watching the painting, and then return and return. Probably spent like 3 hours watching that painting, and man, that's a solid composition. So yeah, that's and it's funny because I was watching another artist drawing a channel. He literally copied a photograph from another photographer, right? They don't even keep the credit, right? They copy it and they place like a manga face, and it looks gorgeous, right? But he cropped the image different, so the composition is lost. The photographer took that picture in that precise lighting, in that precise composition, and it's perfect. But the other artist copied, but he didn't knew about composition, so it became a boring image. I mean, the technique was brilliant, but not knowing composition make the image look worse than the real one. So my advice is that you can learn composition easier. Composition is used in everything, like in clothing, like even in decorating a cake, in publicity. Is for me, composition is like how do you say, like the basis, like how do you say, like the base of a building, like
The foundation.
yeah, the foundation. Like here in Mexico, we have like a church that is called like the Peter rock. Is that common there too? Like the first rock you put in the ground to build a church on top.
Um, I don't know about that, sorry.
It's the Peter rock, right? The Peter rock
No, I.
from the Apostle Peter. Well, so yeah, composition is even before learning digital or coloring watercolor, you need to learn composition first. So yeah, if you want to improve faster, composition is the way to go. Then focus on anatomy and stuff. You can also do the two things at the same time, right? But don't let composition at last. That was my mistake. I let composition at the last part of my career. So compositions, it should be the number one thing to learn first.
All right. And well, with that out of the way, I think we've reached the end of this episode. Thank you so much for coming by. Where can people contact you if they had a question? Is there Instagram okay?
Yeah, Instagram is fine. Or you can contact me on my webpage, that is www.elsavila, how you, well, like my nickname, .net, and you can find there all the links to Twitter, to even Facebook. I'm not that much in Facebook, but Instagram is fine. It's popular right now, that medium. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming by, and thank you for everyone who tuned in and listened to this episode. And with that out of the way, take care, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.